After the 2016 election, many have wondered what kind of influence fake news, conspiracy theories, and social media platforms might be having on the people of this country's beliefs. With the midterm elections getting near, I sat down with professors at the University of Iowa's School of Journalism and Mass Communication to see if the academic world has gained a better understanding of these issues and any insight into what could come next.
Conspiracies, hoaxes, misinformation, etc. have existed since the beginning of time, right? That's nothing. That part is not different, but I think what's different is the speed at which this content can now circulate, the reach it can now have, the ability for people to grab little nuggets and then turn it into something else. The world in which we live in now and the way we think about this content could not be the same without a communication system that exists in the way we have it now, right? There's no way that, well, people they just wouldn't know. There just wouldn't be as much ability for something that happens, in Maine to be in California and India in 15 minutes.
It's hard for me to understand the mind of a person who is attracted to conspiracy theories, but there's certainly a subset of the population that, as you said, wants to believe that the moon landing never happened, that 9/11 was an inside job. And to some extent, when these people are out there, they're gonna find the people who are attracted to that. People want to believe answers that are consistent with their worldview. When they do so, they often just don't want to check it. The story is, for them, too good to check. It's a complicated phenomenon because you have people who don't care that much about whether it's true. You have people who are just suckered and believe it. And then you have people out there who are actively creating and spreading false information. These sort of three different types of consumer or participant in the fake news ecosystem. We live in a society right now where through social media and through the actions of certain irresponsible politicians and alleged journalists, that kind of conspiracy theory, that kind of just urban myth has been legitimized to the point where people feel like they can get away with saying it. They feel like they can get away with believing it without social consequence, without being labeled as a nut.
There is a lot of research that goes into sort of fact-checking and debunking myths. There's been a lot of work recently within the political people that study political communication, looking at the best ways to fact-check someone. And honestly, when someone says something that's factually untrue, particularly on social media, and you respond with a fact, you're really not going to convince them that what you're saying is true. They're going to dig in their heels and start to believe what they believe more, whether it's correct or incorrect. I don't know that people are stupider than they were 10 or 20 years ago. I just think that we have the ability to see it a lot easier now. When you're at a computer, you're there's a wall between you and the people that you're talking to. So you can sort of let your stupid flag fly a little bit easier than maybe if you're face to face with someone. I think one thing to keep in mind, particularly with the Russian interference, is that Russia, the Russian bots, or really anyone that's trying to, sort of influence an election with some nefarious intent, they're using the social media platforms the way the social media platforms were designed to be used.
The social media companies themselves, I think, are a big part of this equation. The ad revenue and the way that revenue works on sites like Facebook, on sites like YouTube, is a huge part of this. So, for example, YouTube is getting a lot of attention right now, and I think it's going to continue to get attention because of the way that advertising works on YouTube. And they have ads that run with the most vile conspiracy videos on the internet, and they make money off of those ads. And until that changes, I don't think we're going to see big changes coming out of the social networking sites.
There's research that's being done on automated fact-checking, automatic demystification of misinformation. There's really good, interesting research that's being done on that. Duke and Georgia Tech in particular have research groups that are really strongly working on this. If they were serious about combating misinformation, the platforms would be putting money behind that kind of research, and they would be putting their own efforts into that kind of research.
One thing that's different now than two years ago is that now you have the President of the United States that really is espousing some of these conspiracy theories and spreading discontent about our political institutions. Whereas before that was sort of relegated to sort of these corners of the internet.
Our democratic institutions are based on the idea that in a marketplace of ideas, the truth will win. If you create a marketplace that doesn't allow the truth to win out, anything can happen.